It is Friday, January 31st, 2025. This is another edition of Football Today, presented to you by Captain Morgan, the official spiced rum of the NFL. I am Chris Rose. Producer Connor is here. You might notice that Bobby Skinner and Justin Pennick are not. They're watching the NFL Future Stars of Tomorrow down in beautiful Mobile, Alabama at the Senior Bowl, cranking out all sorts of content. So in their place is our brand new John Boy Media intern. Rumor has it he's got a little bit of a football background. Please sign in, sir. State your name and your credentials.
What's up, Chris? You know who it is? It's your best friend. The only guy that you love, the guy that calls to you and sings to you on your birthday.
That is
Maurice
so true.
Jones-Drew. MJD, everybody. Hey.
Hey, thank you for doing this. And for people that are a little confused, it was my birthday this past week. And so he called me at 9:30. Not that I ignored the call then. I was just busy doing something else. So I called you back. You picked up the phone. You didn't even say hi. You just literally started singing happy birthday. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it's your birthday. It was your day. So I wanted to make sure it was special. And then I left a comment on your wife's post, you
Yeah, I
know.
know.
Yeah, just tried to, do my part.
Yeah, I
Make
mean,
your
you
day
wa- you
better.
you won her over the first day you met her over at Cosm when we watched the Notre Dame Indiana game. I mean, forget it. It was over.
Oh, dude, we clicked. I couldn't believe it. How look at you. It's just
I
like we're
know.
all one big family now. I love
I
it.
know. I know. So we are, in the bye week, if you will, before Super Bowl 59, and we're going to get to all of that sort of stuff. Um, you came out a year early from UCLA, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
So you didn't get to play in any of the All-Star games or anything, did you?
Well, I had the chance to play in a couple. I want to say like the Hula Bowl or some of those other games you could play as a junior. Again, they were just trying to get guys to play, but I was coming off a shoulder injury, so I didn't really want to go out there and play and not be 100%. So I decided not to play in those games.
All right, so we got a ton of football fans that are obviously closely watching the next few months, trying to figure out who their team should pick. Give us the spin from the other side. What these kids are going through. What are the next 3 months leading up to Green Bay looking like for all these kids?
Well, I could tell you right now, there's a kid that's training at my high school that went to my high school, played at the University of Cal named Lou Hearns. Probably going to be closer to undrafted or maybe drafted late, depending on how he performs at his pro day. But the thing is, it's this is your journey, right? And sometimes you do this journey with 10, 12, 15 other guys, sometimes 30, sometimes it's solo, but this is your journey. And so I remember getting drafted or not getting drafted, but like declaring to leave, picking an agent, which was insane. My mom picked an agent who I still reps me today. And then the agent was like, look, there's two places you can train. You could go to Atlanta, Georgia and train with a certain trainer, or you can go to Florida and train with a certain trainer. And I was like, well, I was like, listen, bro, tell me what they want from me. What do they think that I need to improve on? And he goes, everyone questions your speed. I was like, well, that's easy. I was a track guy, right? I ran 10.6 in the 100, ran 20, 21 low, 22 high in the 200. So I was like, just send me to wherever has the speed. And he goes, well, that's the Florida guy. And this guy in Florida, his name is Pete Bomarito, who's now like super big and he has all the top guys. I mean, I can name a bunch of guys that train there, but that list would bore you a little bit. But I go there. I go all the way across the country to train by myself, which I think is very important, is being like in an uncomfortable situation so you can really hone in and focus on what you have to do. So I was in Florida. Every day I got up at 7 o'clock in the morning, drove to the facility, trained with five or six other guys, and like strict food regimen, strict workouts, massage therapists, you got chiropractor, you got medical. I was rehabbing half the time, getting my shoulder back right. And so it's a tough process because it's a lot of stress, right? There's a lot of pressure on the trainer to get you to be at your best when your best is needed. There's a lot of pressure on you to be perform right at the combine or at your pro day. And then last but not least, there's a lot of pressure on your agent, right? And then there's the other pressure that comes from your family that wants to, be a part of the process and all those different things. And so a lot of guys right now, they're just working out. And if you get the chance to go to those senior bowls, which I know a lot of guys did that, you remember Jari Evans of the Saints?
Sure, of course I
He
do.
was he trained with me. He went to one of the bowls. I think he might have been a senior bowl guy out of Bloomsburg University, which I thought was just a magazine at the time. Right. I thought Bloomsburg was a magazine or like a network that people use. I didn't know it was a university. So excuse me. But watching him go to the Senior Bowl, and that really boosted his stock. And then asking him about it, it's a very for the kids, it's a very high intensity, uh, laser focused job interview for a week. Imagine trying to get a job at whatever you do, and for a week, you have to go to meetings, you have to attain new information, you have to go out there and practice against your competition, you have to be positive about it, right? Like, I'm a competitive person. I'm not always the most positive guy when it comes to competing. But in that situation, you want to show like the best version of you for a week. And it's very intense. And so I know you were talking about some of the other guys you work with that are at the Senior Bowl. Like that is a very, very intense situation. You would say what? There's about 60 guys there, maybe more. Well, how many guys are at the Senior Bowl?
I think it's more. I think it's significantly more than that. I
It's
don't
like
know if it's
80.
about, I think it's about 80. My guess is they're around 40, 45 per team. But
Okay.
were you taking meetings like, they can fly guys in for visits?
Oh
Were they
yeah.
doing that? Okay. So you were
Oh, so
traveling all
I
around the
haven't even
country.
gotten to that part. This is all leading up to the combine,
Yeah.
right? So you do all this work, you do all the bowl games, you get to the combine, and then at the combine, you have literally one day, right? Like you'll do all this other stuff around the combine. So I fly in. I went to the hospital, was at the hospital for 3 hours, which is the craziest thing in the world.
By the
Again,
way, for
everything
people that
is
don't understand that, he didn't go because he was sick or hurt. He went for the medicals. When
the
they send you to
medical. Yes.
everybody goes to the hospital together. Okay,
Everybody,
good.
everybody go. If you have any type of injury, if you ever were injured, which everyone was, you go to the hospital.
All right, we got more coming your way with MJD, but a quick reminder, it's a new year and we're all about setting goals and actually hitting them. What you fuel your body with matters, and that's why I want to talk to you about today's sponsor. It is Huel, spelled Huel. Now, Huel is a perfectly balanced meal, taking the guesswork out of healthy eating. There's no prep, there's no cooking, just grab a handy-dandy Huel for your most inconvenient meals. It also tastes amazing. It's kind of like a milkshake. It's budget friendly with high protein meals under $5. Now, one of my favorite is this one right here. It is the Black Edition, ready to drink, 35 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals, all in one handy dandy bottle. You can find Huel in GNC stores, on Amazon, or directly at Huel.com. And for brand new customers shopping at Huel.com, you can try it for 15% off. Plus, you get a free gift using our exclusive code football today. That is all one word. It's 15% plus a free gift for our new customers with the code football today at Huel.com. Start your year off strong. Unlock a healthier, easier way to eat with Huel. Nutritionally complete meals in minutes so you can focus on what really matters.
So you sit in the hospital, which again, you're learning to perform in a high, like the combine is the ultimate test because everything is against you. Some guys are at the hospital for 12 hours. Some guys are at the hospital for 14 hours. Some guys are at the hospital all night. Some guys are for 3 hours, 2 hours. And then you leave the hospital, you go right into meetings, 15-minute meetings with teams that want to talk to you. So I had meetings in the 15-minute, I had meetings with the Giants, I want to say the Colts, Patriots, Jags. It was probably like 7 or 8 teams. Then you go from there, you get a night's rest, you wake up, you got to go take a drug test, right? A piss test. So you got to get up early in the morning. And
Did you bust out your Wizinator?
oh, I wish I did. No, I didn't do that. I was clean. I was a clean guy. I was a rule follower. So you do that. Now, mind you, while doing all this, you got to hydrate, you got to drink, you got to stretch because at the end of this whole event, you're about to literally run 40s and perform in front of, every GM and scout and head coach in the league. So get up the next morning, you do that. That's why you sip in that water. I see you. Stay hydrated.
I am trying.
Um, then you go to like different tests. You have to do the bod pod, which is crazy, right? So I have to strip down into my girdle, which I'll quick side story. When I was in college, Eric Bieniemy was my coach. He used to make us strip down and weigh in front of the team and whoever was in the weight room. So we had to be at a certain weight. So I was kind of used to that part. But when you walk out on this thing, they measure you, right? So I had always said I was 5'7", 5'7", rocked and loaded. I get there, the guy goes 5'6 3/4". I looked at him, I was like, dude, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, just say 5'7", bro. Like, Jesus Christ. So that kind of like knocked me down a little bit. Um,
Like at least a quarter of an inch.
at least a quarter of an inch, right? Confidence was shattered, but I had worked so hard during that time. Like I had an 8-pack, ripped up. So I get to the bod pod. They put you in a bod pod. They look at, body fat and all that stuff. And then you leave there. Then you go to another medical evaluation where there's like rooms of doctors. And like I told you, I had a shoulder injury. So they were like working on my shoulder to make sure it was stable and all this stuff. And that took about 2 hours. And then you go to either meet with your agent or you meet with teams again. Um, it's a 3 or 4 day process of pretty much the same stuff over and over again. The day before you run, you lift, you bench press. I wasn't gonna do the bench, Chris, just to be honest with you. I wasn't gonna do the bench,
Because your
but
shoulder.
the dog in me wouldn't
Mm,
allow wouldn't allow me to sit out. So
yeah.
my agent is like blowing my phone up, like, "What are you doing? Don't do it! Don't do it!" So I get up in there under the bench and I go, "How many reps has the most guy that has gotten the most?" They're like 19. So I went out and did 20 and I threw the bar up. And they were like, "You could have did more." I was like, "Yeah, but I play running back. Like, you're not gonna make me a fullback because I did 40 reps or whatever it might have been." Um, that the night before, mind you, all this is going on, and you have a roommate. You don't even know who the roommate is. The roommate comes in and out because there's different guys that come in. Um, if you have a roommate that snores, that's a problem.
Who was your
I,
roommate?
I didn't have one. He ended up getting drafted by Baltimore. I forget his name. He was an O lineman. He didn't snore though. Went to Oklahoma. Um, he didn't snore though, so we were cool. But some people had guys that snored, and it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun. After that, you go to the combine. So it's the last day of the combine. They wake you up, they kind of get you all ready, prepared to go, and then you go out there and you run. Like you have to stretch, do all these other different tests, and you go out and run a 40. You get two opportunities to run your 40, which is the most important thing at the combine. Because again, that's going to generate speed is going to tell you where you get drafted. Pretty much places, I believe it places you where you get drafted, right? If you run slow, you fall. If you run fast, you may go up, right? So ended up running 4.3 there. Um, did all the other drills, caught punts after, probably was there for like 4.5 hours doing that. Get on the flight, go back home. Go back to Florida where I was training. Get all my stuff. I go back to California. The next day, I have to work out for the Atlanta Falcons, who had the first pick in the second round. For whatever reason, they didn't have a first round pick. So they had the first pick in the second round. And then that's when that process started. So I'm with that coach. It was like it didn't hesitate either. It was like I got back on like March 5th, and then March 7th, I was working out for the Falcons. And
Okay,
then
now
the
hold
next
on here a
week,
second. Aren't you exhausted?
you have no you can't be exhausted. I mean, like you're tired, but you can't be because this is this is a job interview. Like I get a chance to go get drafted by the NFL. So I'm working with the running back coach of the Atlanta Falcons, and this is a crazy story because we're at UCLA, and he's throwing me the football, and we're warming up, catching the ball or whatever, and then he stands 5 yards away from me, and he starts crow hopping, firing the ball at me. And I'm catching it. I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Well, Mike Vick's our quarterback, and Mike Vick throws the ball hard, so I got to make sure you can catch a hard ball." I go, "Well, if I'm 5 yards away from him, you can't teach him to throw a catchable ball." Like, like, right? Like, isn't that common
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, but he
So
he doesn't throw changeups.
no, he didn't.
Fastballs
No, it's
only.
all hot,
Four
right? So
seamers
the
right
coach is
there.
laughing. We go through the whole situation. A couple weeks go by, I do my pro day, which is pretty much a combine at your
Yeah.
school. I measure in at 5'7.5". For whatever reason, I grew 3/4 of an inch. Must have been the pressure. I don't know. Um, I do all the stuff there, and then I did a bunch of receiver stuff, running back stuff, cop punts, another 3 or 4.5 hour workout. After that, John Harbaugh comes to school, and he's a special teams coach at the Eagles, and they had Brian Westbrook, and they were looking to draft me. Andy Reid was a big fan, which I was very happy about. Um, but the way I was going to get on the field there was catching punts. So I did a 3 hour workout with John Harbaugh in the rain at UCLA, which is like it never rains at UCLA for whatever day it would decide to be cloudy. And I'm catching punts like all over the place. Like they're shooting jugs. I'm just running, catching them. Like it was insane. Um, from there, after that, you start to get those visits where you go and visit the facility, right? You can
Right.
go fly to the facility. So I go from there. I go to hold on, let me backtrack for 2 seconds. I forgot this is a very important story.
I love it because you are emptying the bucket. You haven't told this shit in years.
Oh no, and that's why I'm giving you everything. Yeah, I hope you enjoy it. So We're back at the combine and they're doing these 30-minute interviews, and I'm interviewing with the Jets, the Jags, the Steelers, the Colts, the Broncos, the Panthers. Our own Bucky Brooks was there. But I'm with the Jets, right? And again, I'm sitting there, and the Jets coach talks to me about them possibly drafting me. He was like, "Yeah, I'm a big fan of this guy and a big fan of that guy." He's like, "I'm kind of so-so on you, but they want us." And I was like, "All right, cool. Like that doesn't bother. Like that's your opinion. I think I'm the best player." And he goes, "Well, why?" I go, "Well, if you look at the guys that I played around, right, and I'm not knocking them, but none of them are getting drafted, but the tight end that I played with." And everyone else are either underclassmen or guys that weren't going to play in the league. I was like, some of these other guys are playing with five, six, seven guys that are going to get drafted in the first three rounds. I was like, so, I mean, that's to tell you I could do more with less. Um, so, anyways, he puts on the tape, and the first play is like a fumble, right? And he goes, "Well, what happened here?" I was like, "Man, I was like, man, I remember I wanted to cut back, and the guy that's put his helmet on the ball made a good play. The next play was a drop pass, and the next play was a fumble. It was like, I was like, God damn, like, these are all the negative highlights. And so, like, after like the third or fourth play, he was like, "Is there anything else you want to show me?" I was like, "Oh, is there any other film that I missed of you like not doing good?" And I was like, "I don't know. It seems like you got all the bad stuff. I don't." I was like, "Not that I can remember." You know what I mean? And that was a 30-minute meeting. I was laughing so hard because the meeting, uh, it was just all negative, right? And I think Mangini was the guy, and they were trying to figure out if you're tough enough. I was like, "Dude, you're crazy." Um, 2 meetings after that, I go to the Colts to meet with Tony Dungy. We don't even talk about football. Tony Dungy, it was just me and Tony Dungy. I later find out that he was the only one that wanted to draft me in the first round. Everyone else wanted to draft Joseph Adai. Me and Tony Dungy sit in a room. We talk about life. My grandpa, my mom, my sister, school. All we didn't talk about anything but football for the last 30 seconds. He goes, "What are you going to run the 40?" I go 4.3. He goes, "If you run 4.3, you're going to get drafted in the first round." All right, bet. Go to Jacksonville next. Sit in Jacksonville. As soon as I walk in, they put me on the board. Jack Del Rio's there. Mike Tyson's there. Kennedy Pola, their GM. Shaq Harris is there. As soon as I walk in, they go on the board. They go, "What protections do you know?" I go, "I know, all the West Coast ones that we ran, like 2-jet, 3-jet, Fox 2, Hound 2, all these ones." They're like, "Drop Fox 2 protection and drop this defense." Thank God Eric Bieniemy, again, I tell people, a lot of people, he gets a bad rep. All I did in college from the time I was 17 to the time I was 20 was draw up defensive fronts, draw up formations, draw up protections, draw up blitzes, draw up plays for literally 2.5 years. So I get on the board, Chris. Now, mind you, I want our listeners to understand this. Imagine going into a job interview with the CEO, the CFO, your direct boss, your boss's boss, and they're like, "Describe what you're going to do for us." And you can't stutter, you can't hesitate, you got to go up there confident and draw, and you can't make a mistake. Like, I felt like if I would have went up there and like, "Oh, I messed up and did this," like they'd have been like, "Oh, okay, this guy's an idiot," right? So I went up there, drew everything up. They were like, "Draw up and then literally for 30 minutes I was just drawing up plays. Probably one of the reasons why they drafted me was because they knew I could understand their offense. Um, so I leave there. So okay, now fast forward back to the now we did all that, right? That crazy part. Um, Go to my pro day. I do all that stuff. All those same coaches are there. Once we get to the little private workouts, you just work, like I said, you're just working out. Different coaches are calling you. I had a scout. Again, I'll give you a little backstory of how I got drafted to Jacksonville. My grandpa went to college with Dick Bass. You know who Dick Bass is? Old running back for the Rams.
No, don't know that name. Shame
He
on
went to
me.
he went to the University of Pacific,
Okay.
UOP.
That's
Played
where
for the
Pete
Rams.
Carroll went.
Yeah, well, yeah, Pete Carroll went there. See, I thought you're a historian. You got to look up who Dick Bass is.
My bad.
Uh, so Dick Bass, my grandpa, and another couple other guys were really close friends at UOP. Well, one of those guys was a scout for the Jaguars. Didn't know this. My grandpa had passed away earlier that year in September, and he took me out to lunch. Right, this is like maybe a week or two before the draft. He was like, "Hey man, how you feeling?" Like, "I feel great. And we're talking, having a good conversation. Um, he was like, "Well, I'm standing on the table for you because your grandpa told me how good of a person you are, and we need the type of player and person you are to come to Jacksonville and help us win. I was like, all right, I've heard this before. You know what I mean? Like, oh, whatever. Um, fast forward to the draft, I get a call from Jacksonville. I get drafted. When I get to that stadium, after the draft, you go to the first round normally goes to the facility, meets
Mm-hmm.
everybody. Well, because me and Mercedes were both teammates at UCLA, they brought us both there. That same guy that I went to dinner with was standing right there, right, with Shaq Harris, a bunch of other people. He's like, I told you. And it slips my name. His name slips my mind now, but it's all about who you know, right? And then being good people. And as crazy as that process is, like in the end, it's the connections that you make with people that end up helping you in the long run.
How many running backs were taken ahead of you? Do you remember? You
Oh
said
yeah,
Joseph Adai.
6.
Oh,
You want me
yeah.
to name them?
Sure,
I
if
might
you
have been the
got them.
sixth one. It was Reggie Bush, Joseph Adai, Lawrence Maroney, D'Angelo Williams, Lindell White. 5.
Okay. All good players.
Hmm. Hmm.
All right.
All right. I
They
ain't mad
weren't
at them. They did
they
their
were
thing.
they weren't all multi Pro Bowl or led the league in rushing.
No, they weren't
Just
all
saying.
pro. They weren't none of that. It's all right though. I,
Just
I was
saying.
I felt like I got drafted where I needed to get drafted.
But you were pissed you didn't go in round one.
No question. That's why I wore the number 32. You see that jersey? Is that whose jersey is that back there? Is that a baseball jersey? I thought that was
Yeah, that's my jersey back there. That's
it says
just my
22. It
yeah,
says
that's my
22.
that's
Yeah.
my John Boy Media. Just
I
you
love
know,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Why were you 32?
because all 32 teams passed up on me. Even the one that drafted
Oh,
me.
oh.
Some did it twice.
But wasn't Mercedes their first round pick?
He was.
And he's still going.
Great first round pick. He's still playing. Will
Dude,
play forever if he could.
is he 40 yet?
Oh yeah. He turned 40 this year.
And he's still, I cannot believe, why in the world is he still doing this?
You know, I'll tell you, I remember, so me and Mercedes played each other in high school, played
This is
against each other in
Mercedes
high
Lewis
school.
for people that don't
Yes.
know. Yes, tight end.
He played at Long Beach Poly. I played at De La Salle High School in California. We played in the first ever high school national championship game. Think about that. Number one versus number two. The first ever. That's never happened. Then I go to he goes to UCLA. I follow him to UCLA, and then we end up in Jacksonville together. And the one thing I will always tell people about Mercedes, he loves the process. Right? It's never about the end result to him. He loves the daily work, the grind. He loves that part of it. For me, as much as I loved it, it got old. Right? I got started getting beat up. I had to work harder. I had to do, and what I wouldn't say work harder. I had to do more to get back to where I wanted to be. And when I felt like it was over, it was becoming too much. I just couldn't do it anymore. With him, it will never become too much because right now he's in LA working out. I talked to him the other day. He's in LA working out right now. Like as soon as the season was over, took a week off and right back to the grind. Right, chef, everything. So he's doing an awesome job, man. I felt like during those times, like we had, he was young, but he was still one of the best blocking tight ends in the game.
Hmm.
He had a year where I think he scored 10 or 12 touchdowns. The one time we tried to use him, um, and he showed that he had that. And now, like he's just a unicorn in that position where there's not many tight ends that come in the league that can block. Everyone's a receiver now. So if you're a team that needs a blocking tight end, here comes 40-year-old Mercedes Lewis to
It's
save the day.
crazy. That's crazy. We're going to talk a lot about Super Bowl 59 coming up on the other side of this word from our buddy, Justin Pennick.
Oh, we got to talk about DraftKings football fans. You know it's playoff time, and we've got some exciting games to look forward to. Conference championship we can look forward to. And you can get in on all the playoff action right now with our partners at the DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, they're offering all new customers $200 in bonus bets instantly after betting just $5 when you use our code football today. Stay in on the action. Use your $200 in bonus bets on DraftKings same game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. Do you love to throw live betting? DraftKings has got you covered. Bet live on in-progress games as they happen, making watching the game that much more exciting. And if sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't you worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy and have a shot to win cash prizes. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use our code football today, all one word. Bet just $5 on any wager. Get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's code football today, only at the DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. You will be glad you did.
Continuing on with MJD, sitting in for Bobby Skinner and Justin Pennick today. We appreciate it. That was a good little trip down memory lane. Been a while since you shared some of those stories, huh?
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's probably like 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
Only
good.
on podcasts you get those stories, though, because it's longer winded.
I know, it's good. Yeah, we'd already be 4 blocks into our show of Game Day Final by now. It'd be almost time for the MJDs.
No, we'd be in the A block still. It's a long A block. But
Long
now
A
these
block.
next couple blocks would be like 2 seconds.
dummy segments, as we call them in the TV world. How good does Patrick Mahomes have to be the older version of Patrick Mahomes in order to beat a really talented Philly team? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Can't just get by with 230 yards. Does he need to throw for 320 and 3 touchdowns?
This is the one thing I'll say. I think a lot of people, this is a team. Like, to win a Super Bowl, it takes the team, right? And you have to play your role in said team. A long time ago, Patrick Mahomes' role was we have to outscore everybody because our defense was terrible, and we got to score a lot of points, and we got to play with a lead. And I think they've really transformed and really changed this team to, we don't want to put as much pressure on Patrick to make all the throws, right? He was getting hurt a little bit. He was starting to, get banged up. We want to put everything on our defense. We want our defense to do that. And so to me, I think if Patrick Mahomes does what he did against the Buffalo Bills, is more than enough. And what do I mean by that? Don't lose the game, right? That fumble you had with Pacheco, if you do that against the Eagles, that's a problem, right? Force the Eagles to make the mistake. You just be methodical, go up and down the field, and then apply a little bit of pressure, a little bit of pressure, a little bit of pressure. Because really, in all honesty, the pressure's all on Philly to me. It's not on Kansas City.
Why? They're trying to be the first team to ever win 3 straight Super Bowls.
And we've already won 2. If we lose this one, all right, we won 2. Like, we made it back.
You have a chance to make history, MJD.
You do, but that's not the pressure that Philly has. The last time Philly went, you lost, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Philly, you just won. You scored 55 points in the NFC Championship game, the most ever, right? You went out and got Saquon Barkley. You got all this. Like, this, your time is now. You went all in to win now. Did the Chiefs go all in?
No, but I do think that they've changed their team on the fly, unlike very many teams. Like in the baseball world, I know you're not a huge baseball guy, but when pitchers get older and they lose their fastball, sometimes they have to become a different pitcher, and very few of them are able to change on the fly because they're used to being one type of dude. In this world, we saw Kansas City go from video game type offense, get the ball to Tyreek, let him take it 70 yards, hit Kelsey all over the field, sprinkle in whatever running back we're putting out there. We're going to be good to go. And now they've become this defense first. Some people would say they ride the D to a Super Bowl. I would never say that. But you understand what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah. And that's why I don't think he has to throw for 300 yards.
Okay.
Because what you said, the defense is what's going to win this. Bolton, Chris Jones, their corner from Washington. Again, name is early in the morning, so his name slipped my mind. McDuffie, like those guys, the pressure is on them to out. For Mahomes, I get to hand the ball off to Kareem Hunt. When it's time for me to throw the football, I'll throw it. I need to run in timely situations. When the time calls for me to run, that's the red zone or 3rd down or 4th down. And I need to stay on the field and just continue to get points. Because the more pressure that I put on the Eagles, the more that Jalen Hurts has to be that guy to make the throw. See, I know I can make the throw. I know I can make the game-winning throw. It's on Jalen Hurts to make the game-winning throw.
Not if he's handing it off to Saquon Barkley every down.
Yeah, but again, you got a defense. So this is the thing. I just saw a stat. I was doing some stuff for the Super Bowl. Saquon Barkley's rushed for 100 yards in every game in the postseason. The Kansas City Chiefs haven't given up a 100-yard rusher in the postseason ever.
No, but they did give up 6.5 yards per carry to James Cook in the AFC title game, and had they used him, he would have gotten to 100.
But that's the thing. They didn't use him.
But Philly's going to use Barkley.
Well, then I said, so we're going to have to see. I think again, I don't think there's pressure on Kansas City to three-peat. I think they want to three-peat. Did you see Travis Kelce? Remember we were doing the show and Travis was like, man, this is unbelievable. We made it back here, blah, blah, blah. I'm just happy to be here with the guys. He didn't seem like a guy that was like, and neither did Mahomes in his interview, like, oh, we got to three-peat. We got to do this. They don't seem like people that would stress over that. They want to win, and they're going to play their best to win. but it's not that. It's like getting your first one, right? There's so much pressure to get in your first one that you have to almost have to play perfect. It ends up hurting you in the long run, right? Than a team that's already been there. Like I'll give you a better example. Um, my first time playing golf, right? I had played golf I was in Jacksonville. There's not much to do in Jacksonville. Play golf and ping pong. So I'm playing golf and I'm going for this hole in one. I'm fighting for the hole in one, fighting for it. I'm hitting the ball. I've had bladed clubs. I had TaylorMade made me perfect clubs that fit my swing and everything. I'm doing it all. Can't get close to it, right? Maybe 2 feet to the left, 2 feet to the right. I end up playing in the Bill Murray golf tournament, and I don't want to cuss, but I'm messing around, drinking, having a good time. Just relax. Pow! Like, hey man, you made that. What? First hole in one was when I was drunk, having a good time with my friends, not worried about anything. You see what I'm saying? Like when you put all that pressure to get your first win, to get your first Super Bowl, the city needs it. Jalen Hurts is a winner. This is all he does. You're putting more and more pressure on your team to go out there and perform. And that one mistake may be the one straw that breaks the camel's back. Where Kansas City's like, we've already been here before. We're accustomed to this. We went last year. Majority of our team has been to the Super Bowl. The ones that have it are normally rookies and or Hollywood Brown, right? Or D Hop. But we've won already. We know what it takes. We've already been through the process as a team, and I think that's gonna be a big deal.
Yeah, well, just for clarification, obviously the Eagles did win Super Bowl 52 now 7 seasons ago. Remarkable. There are 4 guys on that team, and it sounds like Brandon Graham, they opened his practice window on Thursday, so that's good news. Maybe we'll see the veteran. He's one of 4 Eagles that were on that 52 team that might suit it up in Super Bowl.
And how many Chiefs were on the Super Bowl team last year?
33 have played in a Super Bowl, and 22 have played in multiple.
That's the difference.
It is. It certainly can be. A few more minutes with you on this, and I appreciate your time today. Nick Sirianni, I know that I have asked you this several times on our game day final desk. Like, is he going to be the reason that the Eagles fall short? Right? Because we looked at him, and there were certainly the first month of the year they couldn't get out of their own way. They were 2-2 heading into their bye, and they looked like a mess. And then they've lost one time since the bye week. Do we give him too much shit?
I don't think we do, because I think he asks for it. I think he draws that attention to himself, but it's smart that he does that. You know why? Because then we don't talk about the Jalen Hurts throwing for under 200 yards in a playoff game. We don't talk about some of the mismanagement stuff they've done time wise. We don't talk about all the other stuff. We talk about him. And as a head coach, you have to understand your team, right? Some teams can handle being poked and prodded at. Some teams can't, right? Like the first time really we stopped talking about him was when we talked about AJ Brown and his book. Think about that. The Philadelphia Eagles have all this talent on their roster. We've only talked about Sirianni and the book. So he does a great job of putting all the attention on him so his guys can focus. His guys can make plays. His guys don't have to worry about all the other stuff. I'd rather my players ask me about questions about me as a coach than about them or like other teammates. You know what I mean?
So you think that he's doing this intentionally?
I don't think he's doing it intentionally. I think this is who he is, but I think it works for them.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
It does.
Right?
I mean, he's only the 3rd head coach ever to make multiple Super Bowls in his first 4 years on the sidelines. The other 2 guys are Mike Tomlin and a Hall of Fame coach in Joe Gibbs.
And this is the thing. Like, I think he's a really good coach. Do you?
What he's
done, yeah, because he's delegated. He's the head coach, right? I think a lot of times, like listen, I work for the Rams. Sean McVay, I think he's an awesome coach. I think he's a Hall of Fame coach as well. Sean McVay is the offensive play caller. Mm-hmm. He deals on the offense. And every now and then he has to dabble on the defense. And where Sirianni's like, look, you're the play. He's had 3 different play callers. You're the play caller. Right? You're the defensive coordinator. I'm going to go get a guy, defensive coordinator. I want to be able to be the head coach. I want to be able to jump in when I need to and can. And I think that role has allowed him to really flourish. Now, yeah, he has the frat boy antics where he's like talking and, hey, Chiefs fans. Like, I love that though. You know why? Because
You
when I
do?
was in
You'd like
Philly,
to play for a guy like that?
oh my God, I talk more trash than anybody. But I'm going to tell you why. When I was in Philly with the Rams in the divisional round, the Philly fans were unbearable when things are going well for Philly, right? When things weren't going well for Philly, they were sitting on their hands. And to me, he's that constant guy. He gives you consistency. And for that fan base that's loud and boisterous and they love it, and we talk about it all the time, like they can be annoying at times, right?
Yeah.
That's the kind of head coach you want. You want that type of head coach. I don't think I'm trying to think of a coach. I don't think a quiet head coach would be like would fit that mold. You know, I don't think a coach would be able to handle that if you didn't have a little piss and vinegar in you to be able to bark back when it was time to do so.
All right. With that being said, if we had a draft of all 32 head coaches, do you think Nick Sirianni would be taken in the top half
No,
by fans?
no,
No way.
because you have to. What is his superpower?
He doesn't
What do
have
fans?
one.
Well, exactly. The fans don't think he has a superpower. So, like, either you're a play caller or like Mike Tomlin has his Tomlinisms, right? And he can get the best out of everybody. And or if you look at Andy Reid, it's his play calling and his ability to take on different guys and different personalities and make them best. Or if it's D'Amico Ryans, right? The way have people bought in and to believe, and people are looking for that. I think the Eagles just found a guy that fits them perfectly.
Yeah, because
I think
even
it's
if you were to
just
line up the 14 coaches we had in the playoffs this year, if you just go by conference, Dan Campbell, you're not going to take him ahead of Dan Campbell. Todd Bowles. Now, Bowles, you might.
maybe Todd, maybe Todd. I don't think O'Connell you would. I don't think the Rams you would. I don't think Dan Quinn you would. Right? I think there's a.
And
I
you,
think there's.
yeah,
Say it
I
again.
mean, you wouldn't in Green Bay. You
No,
wouldn't. You wouldn't obviously in Kansas City. You wouldn't with McDermott. Some people are giving him shit, but I don't think you would
no.
over McDermott. You certainly wouldn't with John Harbaugh. You wouldn't with Mike Tomlin. You wouldn't with Jim Harbaugh. You wouldn't with D'Amico Ryans.
Maybe
And who else?
Sean
And
Payton.
Sean Payton. I mean, he's 13 or 14 if you're having a draft.
Right. So
That's
no,
crazy.
but this is the thing though. And this is what people have to realize. We always look at the outside and say, "Oh, I'd like to have that." When he fits like he's the perfect piece. Like this isn't a square peg in a round hole. This is literally like this piece fits perfectly in
Okay.
because he's the one. Even though I disagree with some of his comments, right? Like I disagree with some of their actions in Philly. Why wasn't Saquon on the float thing at the end of the game? Saquon should have been up there more than anybody.
Well, that's
Why
not
wasn't Saquon at the podium?
that's not
Huh?
a Nick Sirianni thing.
If I'm the head coach, it is. That's my organization.
Yeah, but I don't think that
Saquon,
that's.
get up here.
Do you know why?
You ran us to the Saquon. You ran us here. Get up here and
Okay,
get some of this.
for people that aren't familiar with what he's talking about, is after the NFC title game, they bring out the podium. Fox talked to Saquon first, I believe, on the field. So the television audience got to hear from him, but the people in the stadium did not. And so your point is that the new shiny toy, Mr. 2K, who's been incredible and is probably the biggest reason they're going to Super Bowl 59, you want to hear the roar of the crowd thanking him. So somebody dropped the ball here.
And not only that, what about after the game? When they're doing the interviews, he's in his locker. Why isn't he at the podium with the coach and the quarterback? Because as much as we want to believe in Jalen Hurts, and I get it, Jalen Hurts is one, he's a winner, he finds a way to win. He doesn't win those games if Saquon's not there. I can tell you right now, they don't beat the Rams if Saquon's not there. You can put any other running back there. They don't beat the Rams if Saquon's not there.
I get it.
And so I think that's for me personally, I think that's the only ball that was dropped. But other than that, I think and believe Nick Sirianni's hired the right coaches. He hired Kellen Moore. The offense has flourished. They're running the football. They bought into the zone read. You hire Vic Fangio. You switch that to
Right.
DC, right? All these things you've made the right change to get you where you need to get to.
Well,
Now he's going to have to hire another coach because Kellen Moore is going to leave and take the Saints job. But
I mean, they've had as much coordinator movement as any team over the last 4 years because the two guys they had to help them get to Super Bowl 57 got head coaching jobs, Gannon and Steichen. And then he
yeah,
brought in two guys, and it did not work there at all on the defensive and offensive side of the football. And so the team was like, y'all got to go. So go get us some new guys. And they brought in Fangio, who I believe is the highest paid defensive coordinator, and Kellen Moore, who's done a nice job. And it all, indications are he's going to be the Saints' next head coach. So
Right.
whomever made those decisions, whether it was Sirianni, Howie Roseman, or somebody else, or a combination of the two, they've done a nice job. Before we get out of here, I'm not going to ask you for a winner because we're going to do that on Super Bowl Sunday. We do the last hour of the pregame show on NFL Network. You are aware of that. It's you, me, and M-Rob,
No,
right?
I didn't know that.
What do you mean you don't know that?
Really? We didn't do
Oh,
that last year.
I know. We haven't done it. So we are doing the last hour of our
Breaking
pregame.
news to me. Where's the little breaking news thing? Because I had no idea that was going on. Like I had already planned myself to be doing other things at that time. But okay, I appreciate you for
Wow.
letting me
Okay.
know.
Okay, but you're aware we're doing the post-game show on the field, right?
Sometimes
Come
I'll
on
be
now.
there.
Okay.
I'm calling the game for ITV, the international television.
What
So I'll be
language do you get
coming
to speak?
English,
Oh, okay.
but
Oh,
it's broadcast all over Europe, and then in Australia and a couple other places they speak English.
So wait a second. Do they translate your voice? So if I go somewhere, if I'm in Portugal, I get to hear the Portuguese MJD?
Yeah,
Oh, dude, that
Spanish
is awesome.
MJD, Mauricio. You know what I mean? You get all that. It's awesome.
That is great.
Arabic, the whole nine. So yeah, so I'm prepping for that. That's why I say I've been prepping for the game. But yeah, I didn't know that we're gonna do the last hour. Thank you.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
yeah. See you
I'm
there.
happy that we can figure this out together. But the last thing I want to know is when I said ride the D last year during our show, wasn't there a little bit of you that just could have glossed over and just instead, this is the look you gave me, and that is whenever you call me, that's the picture that shows up on my phone.
So you have to understand. I wish he was my. We homeschool our kids here just because for work schedules and different things, and it works well for our children. I have a seventh grader that is in my house who's bigger than me right now. And at that time, he might have been what, sixth grade, fifth grade, but they're little boys that are starting to become, they have little funny jokes. And that kind of was like the pause joke has been running rampant in my house. And so if I would have responded to that in the proper manner, I would have been able to come home. I would have got ragged at home. So it was as soon as you said that, in my mind, I saw my youngest son's face looking at me like, what are you about to do? And that's why I had to pause and say, excuse me. And then we move forward. But guess what? The reason we were put on this earth to make people laugh, and that has been a laughing moment for all
It
of us.
has been incredible. It
Yeah.
has been incredible. Like, I still get random texts about how it appears on people's TikTok just because it's been over a year later and it's still, they're like, hey, guess what I just saw? In fact, my oldest son, during my birthday, our youngest son puts this beautiful photo of me holding him when he's like a year old, and it's gorgeous, and it posts on my Instagram story. Our older son puts the clip. He put that clip and goes, happy
love it.
birthday. I'm like,
Hey,
God dang.
listen, we went viral, and that's what it's all about. I love you, man. It was awesome. It was good times.
We know
And then
that
did
at
you
John
tell people
Boy
how
Media.
you were hitting me while we had B-roll going on?
Oh, yeah.
Punching me in the shoulder.
I
I'm trying to be a
remember
professional.
I tossed to somebody's interview, and I looked at you, and I go, really? And you go, well, what the fuck do you want me to do?
Hey, man, it's live television. There's millions of people watching. And
Oh,
guess
my.
what? More and more people are watching now, which is the best.
I'll always be that dude.
Hey,
I
if they go
cannot
for a
thank.
three-peat,
No,
we got to bring it up. If they
no,
show
we
up,
don't.
if they show up on air, I'm gonna be like, hey, so did you guys ever see the thing to the time that Chris Rose
Hey,
talked about the defense on Sunday Night Football?
hey, why don't you ask Chris Jones, since he could probably bail
He
me
has
out
he has a
with his
yes.
combine performance.
That's what happened. If the Chiefs win, you and Chris Jones have to take a picture because that's the D that they were riding to the championship.
This was too much fun. I appreciate it, brother. I'll see you now. I'll see you for the pregame Super Bowl 59.
I'll
Cannot
see you.
wait.
Yeah, they probably would have told me on Friday. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Thank you for
It'll
letting
be
me know.
fine. It'll be fine. For producer Connor, For Bobby Skinner and Justin Pennick, wherever they are in Mobile, Alabama, we will all be back together on Monday. And for 5'6" and 3/4" MJD, I am Chris Rose. We will see you next time here on Football Today, presented to you by Captain Morgan, the official spiced rum of the NFL.